Hello and welcome to our latest presentation on bacterial and fungal superinfection in COVID-19 pneumonia. The use of antimicrobials, especially broad spectrum, is quite common in COVID-19. So this meta-analysis looked into the co-infection rate in people who are infected with COVID-19. In the end, they concluded that a low proportion of COVID-19 patients have a bacterial co-infection, less than in previous influenza pandemics. These findings do not support the routine use of antibiotics in the management of confirmed COVID-19 infections. But let's look a slightly more deeper inspection of COVID-19 pneumonia. Are critically ill patients with corona or COVID-19 high risk of bacterial and fungal co-infection? From which organisms? Answering these seemingly very simple questions is far more difficult than expected. There are three factors which are basically affecting the superinfection in COVID-19, especially the research. The first one is the timing of development of the superinfection, early versus late with respect to intensive care unit admission. As we all know, the prevalence of lab confirmed bacterial superinfection in critically ill COVID-19 patients in ICU is around 14%. This meta-analysis and review looked at again the same bacterial and fungal co-infection in COVID-19, and they found that despite frequent prescriptions of broad spectrum antimicrobials, there is a paucity of data to support this association. Generation of prospective evidence to support the development of antimicrobial policy and stewardship intervention is urgently required in this COVID-19 pandemic to prevent the misuse of broad spectrum antimicrobials. On the surface, this late and early division may appear as a semantic. In reality, the antibiotic decision or prescription in real life depends on it. This particular study showed that most of the infection that we find in COVID-19 occur very late rather than early. Say for example, we have 8 patients of COVID-19. Out of this, 2 die early in the infection because of hypoxia. But these 2 will always be taken into account in the denominator when you're looking for COVID-19 superinfection. These patients may dilute the effect of late superinfections, which are much more common, and make them seem less. So the second factor that is affecting the research is superinfection-free COVID-19 case fatality risk as a competing factor rather than all patients. So the third factor is COVID-19 associated pulmonary aspergillosis. The factors which make this patient vulnerable is the epithelial lung damage caused by either the virus or the dysregulated host response, the use of corticosteroids, and lastly, there is a possible similarity between the influenza associated invasive aspergillosis and COVID-19. The diagnosis based on the clinical algorithm published in ASP ICU study makes culture an important aspect, which makes diagnosis very difficult. Even the use of antigen is less specific in COVID-19, especially the galactomannan. So to summarize how to diagnose and treat the superinfections, let's first look at identification and diagnosis. It is important to diagnose late superinfections. The ambiguity in the diagnosis of aspergillosis needs to be resolved, and steroids which may dampen the immune response and the effects of a new infection should be kept in mind. Now, how to address the new infection? The confounding factors of early use of broad spectrum antibiotics should be removed. There should be a plan for long-term impact, especially the lack of stewardship during this period. And finally, the impact of different PPEs should be kept in mind. So to conclude, the take-home message is there is an underestimation of superinfection, especially the late superinfection. And we need more dedicated research in this field to find the real estimate of superinfection. The true risk factors and the disease spectrum is also to be evaluated. Thank you for your patience and check our website for further information.